mission stories. I think each of us has a story of missions that we've been on, and each of us could share different stories of ways that we have reached out to those around us. We have some special missionaries in our midst who have shared the love of Jesus in Puerto Rico, Nigeria, and also, did I get that wrong? Honduras. Okay, Honduras, Puerto Rico, and Nigeria. And would they come up and share this morning their stories? Clayton and Bruce are going to share about Honduras, and Linda's going to share about Puerto Rico and Nigeria.
Last February, a group of us from mostly Davis County, I think all but 2 of the 14 were from Davis County, went to Honduras for a 2-week work period. 5 of the team members stayed 1 week, the rest of us stayed for the full 2-week period of time. Our primary mission for the trip was to build a second story of a 2-story Sunday school wing. When we got there, we went to the city of Danley, which is a couple hours from the capital city that we flew into. Our work project was, that project was to lay concrete block, mix concrete, put up rebar, a lot of welding, probably 1,500 blocks were carried up from the first floor to the second floor all by hand. Sand was carried up in buckets. We had a big gaping hole for an atrium to let light into the lower Sunday school rooms. A building on our left there was an existing building, and our church was on the right, so that we were confined in our workspace. There was an implement dealer, I guess a repair shop, and a combine set across the street. That was probably not very many mechanized items. Most of it's hands-on, hand labor on the projects. The children were the main reason that I've been drawn to the area. The Sunday school, we didn't get to do a Bible school this time, but this was a Sunday school class or a group of youngsters in a church service at the first building that Worksite went to 2 years ago. This is our work truck that we hauled our work material in, electrical outlet was strung out amongst these ramshackle buildings with a haphazard on electrical work. We climbed our hill up to the old rugged cross where this cross has special meanings to me, and this is our work team of all 14 of us as we looked over the city from the hilltop. Driving back to the city we were staying in, we took a side trip to the country, to the horses and cattle that roam the streets, and agriculture, a little corn crop, were probably agriculture, probably 4 foot tall corn, looked like everything was hand shot, very, very little mechanism. Waste nothing, this is a pile of rebar that had been cut to length, it was all crooked and twisted, and they're hammering out rebar to make it straight so we can bend it again into shapes we can use. This was a Catholic school. We walked by one evening. Everything's behind a barbed wire fence or locked down under compounds. Even the house we stayed in was. We take our freedom for granted, and living there, the churches and businesses and the homes were all in some type of a compound. They could lock down high gates, high fences, or security. The supermarkets, the stores have shotgun-toting hired guns as their security guards, and we give a lot of our freedom for granted. As we're working on our project here, we're forming up a concrete structure on the right side. It will be a freestanding concrete beam, a lot of rebar going up in cages that will be support. Gail and Russell were walking back, or 10 blocks back to our house compound. We were safe to walk the streets. It's just after hours. That's our work truck leaving us in the foreground there. We did on the day that the team left to come back from the first week, we went to the city park above this capital city. This is the base of the Christ statue overlooking the city, and we gathered for a photo op here. The picture of our runway as we come streaming in with the first thrusters on. It's a very short runway. It's the second most dangerous airport in the world that the pilots are specially trained for this area. This is the Christ statue that stands above the city and overlooks. It's the same statue as many places around director of the Becky's program, we happened to run into, he's the one we sent our money off to for the scholarship program to send the young kids to school that we supported through our church here. Donna gave the service at our church in Dan Lee. The young man with these head valves, our translator, he was a wonderful translator. He could go on the fly as well as an echo. He could speak while she was speaking. They did communion services Sunday when we were there, with the young people coming up first, with the rest of the congregation coming up afterwards. And that was a special blessing to be a part of their service. Donna did a sewing program with a bunch of local ladies. They made some costumes and outfits. They made some, repaired some projects that had been started in the past. Gail was part of a project where they worked with crocheting yarn to recycle shopping bags that are woven into a big ball of plastic yarn, and then they made shopping carts, shopping bags for produce, kneeling mats and such that they could make with that. We poured more concrete in this photo, carried more blocks. We're about to our second story lay of our blocks near the end of our project on our work mission there. Another view of the work in progress from the floor level up. A lot of work went into that with working side by side with local Hondurans on the project. Don and her team had finished these banners that were hung from the ceiling to have a splash of color in there. They had been donated by another congregation, but they had been sitting in storage since the donation. They just needed finished up and hung, so they gave the church a lot of color. This is the work team left that stayed for the full 2 week period of time, working with local Hondurans. The man that I'm holding hands there with, I worked with twice, 2 different projects there. He knows about 10 words in English, and I know about 10 words in Spanish. But during work and serving, that is, we don't need a language to do that together. During our stay there, we went there thinking we might change some things. We come away more changed than what we could actually do in a week or 2 week period of time there. What we can give is ourselves, and that is worth any more than monetary means that we can give to them. Serving by giving is what they relate to, and all people around our mission work, far or near, serving and working with one another is our mission.
It's really a true blessing to be able to go on a mission like this. As part of the team, just as you're just 1 week, you go down thinking you're going to do a lot. They teach you what a lot is, and what you got to adjust to is they have tomorrow, and that's their culture. We live in an environment that's the same 12 months out of the year, as far as we can tell within reason, and very pretty country. You be thankful that you live in a country that our standards of sanitation is high. These people's sanitation, as you can see in several of these houses down there, their garbage goes out the back door down the cliff. And that's kind of sad. We've seen people washing their clothes. We can see from the flight up above that the streams is more brown than it was clear. I'm talking dirty sewer brown, but blue, black. And we was at the Christ, not the statue, but the cross. You can see women washing laundry down those dirty streams. That's quite heartbreaking. You can see the kids at the top of the hill that had little to not much, but as I look back, they had a lot. The materials we was given on the job site was, by our American standards, would be really second rate. We learned as a team, going down to 14 individuals, that not everybody had a lot of things in common, but as long as you went with the will to work and the want to work, you could accomplish great things. Just by driving around the city, looking at other structures that have been constructed or was under construction, I think we could match any of the construction they had down there. The material is a little different as far as their block, and cement they laid with is, I consider it soft, but once you chisel on some old cement they had there for years, like I said, most of it. That one picture shows the airport. I will touch on this. Russell Jarvis told me when you got to get the one to see when you're landing. And Russell gave me his seat, or we found his seat. I got the seat at Clayton. Russell was sitting on the inside house. Russell got the seat over here in London. But when we come in that airport, looks like the houses outside of the wingtip was too close for comfort. So I think if you sit there, somebody holding a newspaper, you can see the broad print on the newspaper from the airplane. Either that pilot was a hot dog or else he knew what he was doing with it too. But that is a tight run. It's interesting. It's fun. It's a true blessing to go. I will say one thing: anybody that thinks love to go, there's plenty of room. If you worry about your talent, don't worry about your talent at all. Just all you need is hands and want to do it. So, with that, I do thank you.
Well, I can echo a lot of those same sentiments from the places that I've gone in the world. And I just wanted, before I start, to thank the kids and everybody that dressed up and added to the service and made it a little bit African this morning. And that maybe I'm dating myself, but I was old enough to be in youth group and sing that song, a lot. And the truth is, walking hand in hand and side by side, working together, as we've done with these people, is what it's really all about. Our coordinator, Beverly Nolte, always tells us at the orientations that your presence is the best present you can give them. And they truly do enjoy our coming. Every place that I've been, they appreciate it, and it does make me think that we do take a lot for granted, and we forget to say thank you a lot of times for things that get done for us and stuff, and they are always really appreciative of that. So with that, while they were in Honduras, I was in Puerto Rico, and Katie tells me this says, "What happiness, you are now in Comerío." So Comerío was the little town that we were up in the mountains, about an hour and a half or 2 hours from San Juan, depending on traffic, to get out of San Juan. But this is a little village nestled in the hills, and you can see Puerto Rico is really big on baseball. They always have a baseball diamond in all the little towns. And our church was right over in here. And this is the church that we worked at with a big group for us, with about 20 to 24 people. Worked in the inside of this church, mostly inside. We were treated several times to rainbows, and either in the morning or evening, because they had a lot of the morning showers or evening showers, and then the sun pop out, and so it was beautiful. This is the inside of the church. Beverly and Pastor and Carter there just kind of give us the orientation and stuff about their church. We set to work the next day painting. We had to put up a scaffold. They did have a scaffold for us, thank goodness. But my partner Mark and I ended up with the high stuff most of the time. It seems like they always find out I know how to climb a ladder or something. And so he and I spent a lot of time up on this little board up by the ceiling. And sometimes it was a little bit wobbly, but it was pretty good by their standards. We also painted some around the outside, more on the inside. But like I said, if you don't think you can do something, here's an example of willing hands. Oops, you can back up. This lady, her whole job is to hold that can of paint so the other one can reach up there and paint. Because they don't have fancy hangers on their buckets or anything like sometimes we have around here. So hers is just a willing hand to kind of hold the ladder, hold the paint, and it works. We got a lot done. This is just some more people. This one, she likes to just sit on the ground and do the bottom edge. So we leave the bottom a little bit for her to paint around the edge. So everybody's kind of finds their little niche. We did a vacation Bible school. We didn't have very many kids, but the ones we had really had a great time. We did a Noah's Ark theme, and they got to dress up and be animals and do the little animal parade and stuff like that. So they had a good time. We also have a lady that was a hairdresser, so she cut hair while we were there. She cut a lot of the local people's hair, a few of ours as well. We had a couple of men that were handy at doing plumbing and electricity and all that, so they did a lot of fix-up things around the church that they wanted done. We also did a sewing class, and this is, I guess, hand in hand or side by side, either one there. We had some ladies that came, but we also had this little boy, he was about 10 or 12 years old, came and he wanted to make something. So they had to do a real simple little project first, and then he made an outfit, kind of like the one Kevin's wearing. He made it for himself, and he was so happy and proud of that. They also did some patching on the roof. We just kind of worked all around that church. This was another little church, and I think my pointer's getting battery getting out. Oops. This little building back here, the rafters had all been eaten by termites and stuff. And so the guys went there, next picture again, and just tore off the whole roof so they could start over from scratch, because all the rafters were just termite eaten. This was another chapel that they had up on the hill, and it was, I tell you, nobody had been there for 50 years, I don't think. There was paint dropping off the ceilings. It was just in a mess. And we went up there and literally transformed that church into a beautiful place. We did a little plastering, we did a little tearing down, and then we just repainted and put everything back. And I got the plaster up on the ladder again, filling in a little hole. Go ahead. Yeah, good shot. And we also got up on the roof. They wanted to paint this cross yellow. And so 4 of us volunteered that day to go back and finished up some things. We got up there and we found out that all 4 of us were lefties. And so this is the 4 lefties up on the roof. And kind of in the background is the city back down below. This is the inside now. We kind of transformed it from an ugly looking thing to a pretty nice looking building. They have really neat plans for this little chapel on the hill. They have a lot of drug abuse and alcoholism and stuff there in Camarillo. And his plan is to use this as a retreat, to take people, to rehab them, to keep them away from the bad stuff and things for a while, and then get them back to really to be part of the community and stuff. So I hope he gets it done. It's a really nice thing to do. They gave us a little party at the end. Local ones, and the pastor plays the guitar, and so they sang to us in their language and stuff like that. Again, we had a little trouble with the communication problem, but we made it work. We were there during the Super Bowl, so we had to have a Super Bowl party. So the pastor gave us his house and his TV. We managed to find the right channel, a cable thing that would work, and we had popcorn and soda and had a Super Bowl party. This is one of the local things that they fed us. They fed us every evening. A lot of rice and beans in a lot of these countries that you come from. And then one night we went out to eat, and we had, I think it was red snapper, that was really fancied up by a chef that had worked in New York. And so the guys really enjoyed that meal too. We got to sightsee a little bit on the weekends. This is Old San Juan, the fort in Old San Juan. We got to go up and mess around there. It had some beautiful views of the ocean. And then we got to go to the beach one time, and I got to play Tarzan off one of those trees into the water. And then we went to see the rainforest. A lot of the country is still rainforest, and so we got to walk down those paths. And then I was home about 2 or 3 days. You might remember I took off again for Nigeria. So part of the Iowa-Nigeria partnership, I headed back there. We have some interesting ways of traveling sometimes over there. I was there this time in the dry season in February and March, so when the river's low, you can take your vehicle across by backing it onto this ferry, and they'll take it across there, and the people and everything just get on the ferry. And if you're by yourself or you got a distant motorcycle, whoops, can you go back to these? You can get into just a canoe like this or a little boat like this, but with a vehicle you have to take the big ferry. Well, evidently it was a little too dry when we were there one time, and we got stuck in the mud. And so they just had all the people just jumped off overboard, of course they didn't get the cars go, and lightened up the load a little bit, and we all started pushing, and they got off the bar. But in the rainy season, like when Shannon and Kurt and I were there in the summer in June, the river's too high, so then you have to drive around. It's about a 5 or 6 hour drive around on the main bridge. So interesting things happen. As you know, I worked a lot with wells, and so part of the time I spent this year just going around and checking some of the previous wells that we had done. So this is in one of the villages, just an open well where they pulled the water up with a little rubber bucket. On the way, this was by motorcycle, by the way, this is me on the back of that motorcycle, and it's dry season, so there is just dust everywhere, and this is one of the Fulani Caterpillars that we're trying to get him out of the road so he can go by on the back. Our drivers of the motorcycles decided they wanted breakfast after we were down the road a ways, and so we just went into this little guy's shop, and you see he has lots of eggs up there, and he just whipped them up on this little tank there, and they had eggs and bread and a soda to eat. Now this is an interesting one. At Drakesville, Sue Lawson was announcing the engagement of her daughter, and I said, well, you can save yourself some money. In Nigeria, they put this paper up on a tree. That was the wedding announcement in the whole village. You know, so they posted on the tree along the main road, and the whole village was invited. And so I told her she could save some money on Christy's wedding. And this is what a lot of them guys you see them doing. I don't remember the name of this game, Shannon, but they do this all the time. They sit there with these little seeds and they move them through the little holes and try to win somehow. You see mostly the men and the boys doing this because the women are off hauling the water and cooking the meals and so forth. But the men do little work. This was at the seminary up in Vancouver, and we are making a piping system to pipe the water from the wells down in the valley up to the campus. And they had an extra tank down at the library. So Shannon knows how far the library is from the provost's house. It's quite a haul. They took this tank, which is empty, thank goodness, but they just carried it on about 20 guys' shoulders all the way up to where it's going to sit up on the other end of the campus. So once in a while they get something done too. As you know, we have kind of adopted the village of Panya. Well, there's another church in Iowa up in Eldora that wants to partner with the village over there. So it's my job to go to this village of Salaminkala and talk to them about what they would like to have us help with and so forth. And so this is the group that came out to the church to see me, and the kids that were down in front in the picture came and they wanted to sing a song, and so they did. And then I'm working out things with Eldora to try to partner with them. This is another well repair. Reuben is not going by OSHA standards there, I think, but he's up on the ladder, and we fixed up this chain hoist so we could pull the rods and stuff out of the well. This one is one of our deepest ones, and they finally got to the bottom of things and found out the very bottom piece that has the suction on it had come unscrewed. And that's all that was wrong with their well, and so we screwed it back together and replaced all the pipe and stuff, and they had water just like that. But they had not been able to use their well for a while. I always love to go to the school children, and this is in one of our villages, and they're in uniform and they're waving goodbye to me. So we hope to go with our well situation from this, which is a woman in the dry season in the dry stream bed, digging a hole and letting the water seep in there a little bit at a time, and bucking it, putting it on her head, and carrying it. We see a lot of that, and like the next one, a woman is sitting by the rocks and the water seeping out, and you can tell the water in that pan's a little bit brown, not the best water and stuff. So we hope to go from that to the next one, which is a borehole that we've put in, where you can just stand there and pump the water, put your pan underneath, and the water comes out nice and clear and clean and much more healthy for them. So that's the difference of a borehole makes a lot of difference to their health. In absence of a borehole, I took a little water purification device this year that's made by a couple over in Mount Pleasant. All you do is add salt and water and make a chlorine solution, which they can then add a few drops to their water and purify the water. So I took this to a clinic where they can use it to purify water also. Well, the ladies that have been in on the mat making around here know that we started with just a little pattern that told us how to crochet and make mats out of plastic bags. Well, the lady over here, Mary Tutu on the left, has really taken this big places over there. When she saw the one that I took, and she knows how to crochet, she has her husband go out, and you see on the table there the little crochet hooks that he's carved off of a little tree branch. And she goes and buys even the colored bags like this, and makes mats, makes also the bags like this is a big purse type thing, uses a little bag, and then she's got the mats on the floor and stuff as well. And she's teaching the women there how to do that. So that's another way that we're enabling them to do things for themselves and stuff. And the neat thing about it is the day I was there, she was being interviewed by the local TV station about how she's taking these bags and recycling them to make mats and so forth. And Yusuf, her husband, says, "You got to go too, you're part of this deal." And so they asked me, "Well, how did this get there?" And I was able to tell them we brought them back in from Africa and everything. And I showed them how to loop it things together. That's all I did on the TV because I can't crochet. So anyway, we got interviewed. The PET machines are always a thrill to me to get to give one of these out. This is a 16-year-old girl who was crippled by polio. And she was sitting here in the village shelling peanuts, ground nuts, that's what you see on the ground there, and was able to get a PET machine, so she's crawling aboard. And it doesn't take these people long to learn how to ride these. And so she's getting around the village now, and she is so happy that she can now do things with the other people around the village and stuff like that. This is also an interesting story. This is her mother on the left, her pastor, and then she and I. The pastor is also an interesting story because he is totally blind. It's the one that I told a few weeks ago about the pastor who's blind. And he goes out, starts singing, and he's good singing, and so people gather around, and then he starts preaching to them. And he has planted 10 or 11 churches in that area because of this. And just totally blind, he goes out on a guy with a motorcycle every Sunday to visit, and he knew about this girl, so that's how we got her. Our usual motorcycles are pretty dependable, but we had a flat tire on the motorcycle. As God would have it, we were close to the road. We weren't off in the boonies a million miles from the village or anything. And so Reuben was able to go into the village, and he got this guy, and this guy comes back on another motorcycle with this boy on behind him, and they had a pump, an ear pump, and a little patching kit, and he just patched our two right there on the side of the road, and in 30 minutes or so, we were back in the village again, headed home. But it could have been a whole different story if we'd been way out yonder somewhere. A lot of what I do now in doing Seeking the Wells for the village is Reuben and I go out. He translates everything that I say. We talk to the village leaders and a lot of the village people about their water situation and stuff. Now I'm trying to also include in that messages about the neem tree, which we're sitting under a neem tree here. And the neem seeds give off an oil that is a very good insect repellent. So all the mosquitoes that they have that cause malaria, it can help to have this neem seed oil to rub on you, to burn in your lamps in your house. Also the moringa trees that they grow right there, the seeds can be used for water purification. And so I try to do a little education while I'm there, also just talking about the water. But a lot of times when I arrive, the little children are scared of me because I'm like a ghost, I'm so white compared to all of them and stuff. So finally I try to get them to warm up and shake hands with me and stuff, and I end up shaking hands all around the village. Little kids, big kids, and so forth. I've tried to start a Go project in one of the schools. This is not at the school, this is at a clinic. And this mother goat had just given birth to these two little babies. And as a nurse would be, the lady that was there came out, and, "Oh," I said, "those look like they were just born not very long ago." This was it was just before noon. And she said, "Yeah, the first one was born at 9:45, and the second one was born at 9:47. And I said, "Well, typical nurse, she knows exactly when the time was born and everything," but it was cute to see the two little ones. This is one of my favorite pastimes over there, is to be there during mango season. There's a mango tree with a mango hanging on it, and I get to slurp up a nice fresh one. It tastes a little different than the hard ones we get in the store here. I'm trying to get each of the schools to make a school garden. So this is at the junior secondary school. They've planted a couple little banana trees. And next, they've also planted these little garden plots with other vegetables and stuff. So I'm hoping that they can teach the kids about gardening, but they can also use the food bin at the school there for themselves. This is at our orphanage, and they're also doing the same thing. They give a little kid each a plaque like this and a plot, and they put their name plate on the plaque so they can tell, and they take care of their own little garden there. So it's also a good thing, I think. shower, we took baby stuff for her, and we got to see his baby, and I brought him back lots of pictures so you can see it. But this sweater was actually knitted by Diane Park in our congregation, and so goodness is dressed in a little sweater that came from Bloomfield, so I think that's what it means. And here I am in Panya, our sister community, visited with the village leaders and stuff. This is their church in the background. It's Haven Cross, and this is UMC in Panya. And their wishes for this coming year is that we would help them build a clinic. So you're going to be hearing more about that, but we're going to try to raise some money and also come up with some things, supplies that might help them in establishing a clinic in their village. So, I just, again, want to kind of echo what these guys have said, and to also just say thank you to our congregation for your support, not only financially, but especially with your prayers and your encouragement and stuff to us as we go. And I would just say that, if you're able, there's a place for you on one of those trips. If you're not, we just still cherish your prayers and your support here from home. It's all very welcome. So thank you very much for helping us to be missionaries in this way.
Linda mentioned a couple of times about the tree that helps with malaria and different things. There's been a campaign that's been going on for quite a while called Nothing But Nets. And the Nothing But Nets campaign, when it began, every 15 seconds there was a person who was dying from malaria. And I learned at our district conference yesterday that now it's once every minute instead of every 15 seconds. So progress is being made in getting nets and education out there for people who are dying of malaria so that they don't get malaria. And it's another one of the emphases that the conference is putting into their offerings this year at annual conference. And I would like to challenge our congregation to take up an offering for the Nothing But Nets, for the Imagine No Malaria, so that Helen Schroeder can take it with her as she goes to annual conference on June 4th. So the 27th of this month, I would like to have an offering. Our district is hoping to raise over $10,000 for this program to offer, and I hope that we can be a major part of that. So please think about what you can offer for that. We're all in mission together, and mission begins with Christ in our hearts, and Christ comes into our hearts when we open our hearts to Him. As Jesus was with His disciples after He had washed their feet and shared with them, gave them the